How well you know about listening? Have you ever been to any training or any education that actually teach you how to listen? That actually teach you how to listen so that you are really deeply understand the other person? I bet no. Because for myself, I never came across any training or education that actually teach us how to listen. So in today's video, let's talk a little bit about listening. Now, there are 4 basic types of communication. As of now, I'm speaking and you are listening. So we have speaking and listening, and then we have writing and reading. Just like the author writing the book, and then we read it. So there goes the 4 basic types of communication: speaking, listening, writing, and reading. Now, we spend years in learning how to read and write since we got into school. So in school, we learn how to read and how to write. We also learn how to speak. So just like your teacher asks you to read an article in your class, and even if you are working, you need to give presentation to your colleagues and to your bosses in your workplace. So you see, we spend years in our life in learning how to read, how to write, and also how to speak. But how about listening? We usually have the tendency to rush in and fix things up with good advice. But most often, we fail to understand the other person first. Just like what Stephen Covey said, most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. Just think of the conversation you have throughout the days. Do you really seek first to understand the other person before you speak? In most of our conversations, we are either speaking or we are preparing to speak. We always rush in. So when another person is speaking, we usually listen in one of the 4 levels here. So number 1 is ignoring, which means we are totally ignoring whatever things that the other guy trying to say. Alright, especially when you are busy or you're in crisis of your own. So basically, you are just ignoring whatever the other guy trying to say. Then number 2 is pretending. So you are just pretending that you are listening, but you are not. Normally, you will give a response like, you are right, sounds good, yeah. This kind of response because you are just pretending and you are not actually listening. Then level number 3, now you are listening, but we call it selective listening, which means you are only listening to a certain part of the conversation. Then number 4 is attentive listening. So attentive listening sounds good, right? But attentive listening, which means we are just focusing on every words that the other guy trying to say. Alright, so we are just focusing every words that being said by the other person. Now, depending on what kind of conversation you have, so your listening will fall under one of the 4 levels right here. So you are either ignoring, pretending, selective listening, or attentive listening. So very few of us actually goes into empathic listening, including myself. Anyway, not all my conversation throughout the days are effective. So empathic listening, which means we listen with the intent to understand. We seek first to understand the other person. We understand what the other person wanted to say. We understand what message that they wanted to convey. And most importantly, what separates empathic listening to the other type of listening that we discussed just now. So in empathic listening, we also understand their feelings. So in empathic listening, we listen for meaning and we listen for feelings. So you see, when we are having a conversation with other people or when we are giving a pitch, we can't just express ourselves without understanding the other person first. It is like when we are sick, we go to the medical center to seek for treatment. So the doctor is very busy and tell you that, okay, I'm in rush. I got no time to diagnose. Just take this treatment. Alright, just take the medicine. Sounds crazy, right? Will you actually trust the medicine that given by the doctor in that situation? So in our conversation, it is the same. We have to first understand what the other person trying to say, understand their feeling before we give them any treatment, before we give them any advice. So how can we actually practice empathic listening? So in empathic listening, there are 4 developmental stages. Stage 1, mimic content. This is the first stage skill because at least you are listening. Mimicking content is easy. Basically, you just repeat what the other person say. Now, imagine I'm in a training with my friend, and my friend suddenly come to me and say, "Hey Albert, I think this training is a total waste of time." Yeah, there you have it. You think this training is wasting your time. So this is stage number one. Basically, you just repeat what the other person say. Then stage number two, we have rephrase the content. Now, this is a little bit more effective compared to stage one, but it is still limited. So it will be something like this. "Hey Albert, I think this training is a total waste of time. You don't seem want to come back to the second training session tomorrow." Now, you see, I basically listen to what my friends say and then I just rephrase the content with my own words. So this is stage number two, rephrase the content. Then we have stage number three, which is reflect feeling. This is more effective compared to stage one and stage two because now we are bringing in feelings. Now, it will be something like this. "Hey Albert, I think this training is a total waste of time. You sure are feeling very frustrated." Now you see, I bring in the feelings. Although my friend didn't mention about frustration, but I know that he is saying that, okay, this training is a total waste of time. So I know that he is frustrated about the training, but there's no content in this conversation here because I basically say, okay, you sure are feeling very frustrated. I didn't mention anything about the training. It's all about feeling. Then it leads us to stage number four. And stage number four includes both stage 2 and stage 3, which means we rephrase the content and at the same time we reflect feeling. So this is stage 4 of the empathic listening, and it will be something like this. "Hey Albert, I think this training is a total waste of time. You are very frustrated with this training." Now you see, frustration is the feeling and training is the content. Now we are using both sides of our brain to understand the communication. You see, empathic listening is not rocket science. It's not something very hard to do, but it requires practice. It requires your genuine heart to understand the other person. Alright? And throughout our conversation, we need to switch back and forth. Alright? There is a logical side and also there is a sentimental side. Now, if the response from your friend is logical, for example, my friend respond to me in a logical way, then I can effectively ask questions and give advice. But the moment when the emotion comes in, then we need to switch back to the empathic listening because now it is involving feelings. Now, let me go through a longer version of the conversation between me and my friends, and then of course I will indicate when it is empathic and when it is logical. "Hey Albert, I think this training is a total waste of time. You are very frustrated with this training." "Yeah, I sure am. What I thought is impractical. I'm not learning anything here." "You feel like this training is not doing you any good." "Well, sort of. You see, David is not attending any training, but still he does make good progress. I feel that is more practical. So, you feel David really has the right idea?" "Yes and no. I think he got his way, but down the road he might regret not building up the basics and the fundamental first." "You think David going to feel he made the wrong decision?" Yeah, my feeling kind of mixed. He is making progress, but education is really important. I know that. "Oh yeah, we might seem started off slow, but for long run, we are in good positions." "But this training gonna take 3 days, which include the full days over the weekend. This will take up too much of my personal time." "Yes, I agree. It does take up our weekend, but if you want to get our basics and fundamental right, this could be the little price we need to pay. Guess we just need to focus on the training. We are already in this and learn as much as we can." Empathic listening does take time. Yes, it does take quite some time to actually practice empathic listening and the process seems to be a bit long. But it doesn't take as much time as it takes to actually fix your argument or correct the misunderstanding you have with somebody, especially with your family or people close to you, whereby they are emotionally attached to you. Just like my conversation with my friends, if I do not practice empathic listening, it will grow into an argument and it will take much longer to actually fix our relationship later on. So people just wanted to be understood. Of course, we also want to be understood, but we should seek first to understand. Then we can communicate more effectively. And You don't need to use empathic listening in all your conversation. This only applies to those conversations that is important to you. For example, like, okay, your friend asking you for life advice, your colleague asking you for career advice, or maybe you are trying to fix a relationship problem with your family or your loved one. You see, only for those important stuff. You do not need to apply empathic listening to the casual conversation you have day in and day out. And also, empathic listening is not meant to resolve any of your conflict or problems with other people. It doesn't mean to resolve any conflict. It meant for you to understand better during the conversation. You understand what the other people trying to say. You understand their feelings. So it's all about understanding. And I hope this video gives you some insights on how to actually listen and communicate better. So if you love this video, give me a thumbs up, share to your friends and family, and subscribe for more of my future content. And yeah, I love to shoot photo as well. So just check out my Instagram account down in the description box and give me a follow there. So as usual, I will see you in the next video. Bye.